Hello, my monstrosities. Hello once again. Today I bring to you a video I didn't really expect to make. For the reasons that I figured people would let go of DACA in more ways than one. So it's no secret, more DACA is less DACA. It's not really filling that niche. And before more DACA was released, you had Tactical Brigade, and of course, it was filled to the brim with flash gits, looters, tank busters, because you have the option to make infantry or mounted have +1 to hit for ranged attacks. Now, it's fun to do something atypical, right? Now, you don't really look to orcs for their shooting because they're hitting on fives and sixes, but as we see, when they can, it turns into a bit of an issue. Now, I say all that to say that I don't think anything's wrong with that build for the most part. I'm just more surprised that Tactical Brigade has a little bit more flexibility than going towards just one aspect. And with the way the game is progressing, well, I should say the meta game is kind of progressing, I'm a bit surprised that lists don't look different now that Mordaka is underground. Like, I figured people would try to, and this isn't, again, I don't think anything's wrong with the list. It's just I'm going to point out units that we see still do well and some ambitious units and reasons for things going on and talk about that. And, I'll really, if you have more, like why it's not a tactical brigade thing that we might be seeing, I want to hear it. If you're doing it at your like with your against your friends at your locals or whatnot, I want to hear this too. So really, just want to have a conversation today about Tactical Brigade because it has some pretty good flexibility, and I don't know. I think it would be a nice time to do so. So Tactical Brigade, the detachment rule is listen here. Once per battle round in your command phase or after being set up on the battlefield in your movement phase, each boss, Snickrock, mech, and war boss model in your army can issue tactics abilities. To do so, select one of the tactics abilities below and select one friendly orc unit within 6 inches of that model to issue them to. That model must take a leadership test. If failed, the selected unit suffers 1 mortal wound. Until the start of your next command phase, the selected unit is affected by the selected tactic. A unit cannot have tactics issued to it in this way more than once per battle round. Tactics abilities cannot be issued to battle shock units, excuse me. And if a unit affected by tactics becomes battle shocked, all tactics cease to take effect to that unit while it is battle shocked. So let's talk about the tactics. Get stuck in. You can reroll charge rolls made for this unit. Get on with it. Add 1 to the strength of melee weapons equipped by models in this unit. Sneaking, stalking, infantry, and mounted in this unit have stealth, and each time a ranged attack targets this unit, they have the benefit of cover. Shooter drills, each time an infantry or mounted model in this unit makes a ranged attack +1 to hit. You also get Storm Boys as battle line. So why did I read over the detachment rule? Well, first off, it is a little bit changed from when we last saw it. You didn't have to do the leadership until you were trying to issue 2 tactics. And then GW was like, all right, we got a little bit silly with that. So let's nerf Tactical Brigade, release more DACA, nerf more DACA, and everybody's going back to Tactical Brigade. So it's worth refreshing that it isn't the Tactical Brigade of old. Or, if I've misremembered a part of that, fill in the blank. But so what we're still doing in Tactical Brigade, and again, this isn't to say it's not working. It just had a good weekend last weekend, I should say. So we have 3 results for Tactical Brigade alone last weekend, and I just was looking over everything. I was like, oh, that seems familiar. We got Beast Boss, Big Mech and Mega Armor, Big Mech with Shock Attack Guns, Boss Snickrot. Beast Nega Boys, Storm Boys, Trucks, Flash Goods, Gretchen, Commandos, Tank Busters. A lot of Gretchen uh, than I expected, and Flash Goods too. Right, so there's that one. We have Mark over here. Sorry, we had Darren over there. I don't think I said Darren's name. Sorry about that. Uh, Beast Boss, Big Mech and Mega Armor with Mech Captain, the Flash Gitch, of course. We saw that over here. Big Mech with Shock Attack Guns, Zod Grub, Beast Snagga Boys, Storm Boys, Trucks, Flash Gitch, Gretchen, Ludas, Tank Busters. And Jensen, we have Beast Boss, Big Mech, same thing. Boss Nick Rock Mech, Zodgrod, Beast Nega Boys, Storm Boys, Trucks, battle wagon, right? By the time we get a battle wagon out here, Flash gets Gretchen tank busters. So, I guess this is to say, when I do some of these things, and I'm looking at the list that are in our face that got results, I should be more careful and talk about how I'm surprised that the other things aren't doing it. Um, because they could be, but we're not seeing them get to the same result. So that could already be step one of, well, people are going to do the thing that I'm about to talk about, but this list is tried and true because, as you can see, a gap between March and April, well, yeah, everybody was over here. So there was that. But let's go back to a March list. Beast Boss, it's the same breakdown. We've seen this Battle Wagon back. Got kill rigs. Kill rigs have disappeared. Um, for the most part, and I think it'd be kind of cool if kill rigs make their way back into Tactical Brigade. But that's not what I don't want to talk about today, even though I usually want to talk about kill rigs. First off, the Beast Snagger boys. They're good. I like Beast Snagger boys. Feel no pain of a 6 up. Reroll hits versus monsters and vehicles. 95 points for 10 models. All good, all dandy. And I also like the Beast Boss. Gives them +1 to hit, and each time this model makes a charge move until the end of the turn, melee weapons it is equipped with have devastating wounds. Devastating wounds, anti-monster, anti-vehicle 4 up, and the possibility to have sustained. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's not a package that I'm going to question. But I do want to know if Orc players possibly do a thing that is going on with Sisters right now. To an It's actually what I'm about to send like two different ways. It'll make sense, hopefully. So Sisters are taking Sacrosants with Hospitalers, 5 of Feel No Pain, -1 to be wounded if the strength is greater than toughness. Or no, just I think straight up -1 to wound if a character's leading, actually. But they're T3, right? So that's how that gets fixed. So I wonder if there's ever a world where we start bringing the Pain Boss just to give some Beast Nega boys that 5 of Feel No Pain instead of a 6 of Feel No Pain. And at the end of your movement phase, select one friendly character, Beast Nega character, and regain some lost wounds, right? Now, that said, the Beast Boss, the Pain Boss, is not a War Boss or a mech, so this would probably be a bit more of a, I don't know, but there is a world into which you take the Pain Boy attached to 20 boys who can have a war boss, can have two leaders if they're attached to 20. So maybe that's the angle. That way you still get everything. Give the entire unit 5 of Feel No Pain. Um, for boys, that is, right? Get some sticky objectives in there. And, still maintain the things from a war boss +1 to hit. Pretty decent. But the reason I'm wondering about this is because you could be giving them stealth and benefit of cover. So -1 to hit, 5 up, feel no pain, and going back to the pain boy, sorry, the pain boss, I took my time and still flubbed it. Grot Orderly, you could be returning some bodyguard models up to that, and the pain boy also has a Grot Orderly. So, wonder if there's ever just, alright, how about we just put a bunch of OC on the point and stand here for a little bit, regenerate once per battle, that's fine, but, -1 to hit, 5 of Feel No Pain, doesn't sound too bad, especially when you could give a 20-man brick of boys lethal hits. It doesn't sound too impressive, right? But if they are +1 to hit from uh, a war boss. I was talking about this in Assimilation Swarm for Tyrannage, really, like, the access to lethal hits and melee for just some trash units really lets you do decent work. If you have 20 models and everybody gets a chopper, right? So that's 60 attacks, 411 lethals could be pretty decent. That's actually could be nice, and that's before you factor in the war boss and the pain boy themselves. So it's just something that I don't know. Maybe clog up the board, get some sticky in there. Uh, get some melee in this, and that's kind of where I want to go with this aspect too. War boss. Oh, I guess I hit the war boss like 2 times on that one because I had this prepped up. But the knobs, and we'll keep the uh-oh in a video. So war boss, right? +1 to hit. We already had that. And plus add 4 to attacks on wall for this model's melee weapons, right? And also, now that I think about it, let's bring up Breaker Boys too. They weren't originally part of the conversation, but now they are. So, Nobz, while a war boss is leading this unit, each time an attack targets this unit, if the strength is greater than the toughness, -1 to wound. So, for T5, 4-up save, again, infantry with grenades. This is a package that I feel is damn near an orc special, right? We see that it's still being brought in Warhorde. We still see war bosses, and now we have Breaker Boys over here, so taking off. So hey, look at that, and looks like that was a good time to bring them up. War bosses and Nobz. So we see that still coming over here in Warhorde, where the difference with Warhorde is, yeah, you get sustained for all your units in melee, but Tactical Brigade, they're already getting +1 to hit from being attached to a war boss. Why not get on with it with +1 strength on top of that? Or, you know, cloud out some of this with, -1 to wound for T5 with stealth and benefit of cover. I don't know. I'm just surprised that we haven't seen War Boss, close this duplicate out, War Boss with Nobz, uh, make a return over here in Tactical Brigade. Especially when the Nobz aren't necessarily slouches. If you give 15 attacks sustained and or lethal, again, that's pretty fine for their profile. All right, look at the options that you have over here. Everybody gets a big chopper. So that's 3 attacks hitting on 3s, hitting on 2s with the War Boss attached. Strength 7, AP 1, damage 2. So get a bunch of lethals through that. Yeah, I guess, right? Now, mind you, you have to ask where the rerolls are and all of these things, but if you could pump that up to 8, 7 to 8 is a pretty good breakpoint. That's where some things start to get a little bit more serious, especially if you are punching something that was T7. Putting that up to 8, you're now wounded on 3s, that's pretty good. Hitting on 2s, wounding on 3s, that's pretty fine for some orcs. And on your way to get up there, assuming that you are not inside of a truck, -1 to be hit for stealth at ranged, minus 1 AP essentially with benefit of cover. You can stand out in the open, and then you could be kind of tougher to remove. Now, mind you, we see that. I guess I should pull this up too. In Warhorde, you still have hard as nails, right? Where it's a flat -1 to wound, and you can double down by having these bricks of War Boss and Nobz, and then a third unit being -1 to wound will be annoying for your opponent. But it is just stands to reason that for the cost of not a command point, where were we? For the cost of not a command point, you could just take the mortal wound if it fails, right? But stealth, benefit of cover, -1 to wound sounds like a solid package to me. So I'm surprised that we've still been doing the hard shooting skew out of orcs instead of going back to doing a lot of orc stuff. And again, this isn't a you should not be doing that because they won, right? They still won. I'm just surprised that the list hasn't shifted to what we're doing now with the game changing, especially when Devoted of Your Need was, I don't want to say eating more DACA a little bit. Like it had options to have play into it, right? But now, if you're still tailoring your list into ranged and Devoted is still here, or there's things like Shadow Legion and Be'lakor making 18-inch loan up, and some of the things on the horizon with Emperor's Children, World Eaters, Death Guard. Like I'm looking at Flyblown Host Death Guard and going, oh, that's going to be pretty fucking annoying, yeah. But with things like that on the horizon, I'm surprised that it hasn't turned back into a melee skew for Tactical Brigade, or I shouldn't say back into, but I'm surprised it hasn't turned into a melee skew for Tactical Brigade. Mind you, there's no uh two command point uh wah to advance and charge, but you've been playing Orks this entire time. And again, it's also intriguing to me a little bit that the shooting list didn't go back to Dread Mob with mechs and things. But again, I guess if you can take +1 to hit, or when it's not your turn to shoot, or for the, because there's, it's for the here we go, battle round. Um, I guess it stands to reason that you could, work a little bit, like if you're planning to have this unit shoot or not, if they could just be stealth or, especially hidden from indirect fire or whatnot, things like that, that you just go for shooting. But, it's kind of interesting that you have uh, Rabudi and Calgussi out here terrorizing people with a lot of shooting lists too. I've been seeing Vindicators, all of the Storm Strike, Hail Storm Speeder, Hail Strike, whatever those things are. Um, Dreadnoughts, putting down shots too. So looking at some more shooting, and it's interesting that Orks are going the route. Tactical Brigade Orks are still going the route of having a shootout with them, compared to that what Orks do. So I just want to have that conversation of, I'm surprised that this hasn't caught on. Uh, boys for the Pain Boss. Sorry, boys for the Pain Boy. Beast Snagger boys for the Pain Boss. Right. I'm surprised that that hasn't broken up there a bit, but not to say that it needs to. Now on to the questionable things, I guess. Breaker boys. Here we are. That they are 140 points. T5, 4 up save, 2 wounds. We saw this in some lists, and a list, I should say. Trophy Hunters, declare a charge. You can reroll that charge. Bomb Squigs. After this unit ends a normal move, you can get some D3 mortal wounds out there. You also have grenades. You have anti-monster, anti-vehicle on some of these weapons. Um, so, I guess there's still here, right? I guess that a war boss can still serve them well. But I don't know. I just feel like knobs are still good, right? So again, not to say that you shouldn't take breakables or anything. It's just surprising that breakables are still in a conversation when tank busters. I don't know. I feel like everybody just made their kit tank busters and called it a day. So breakables are still here, and Squig Hog boys. Now this one is turbo questionable, but we did see the big hunt do fairly well. What, 2 3 weeks ago? Don't remember when that was. Um, and I like the execution of the big hunt because it's oath of moment, it's orc of moment, and just go for it. But it is mainly beast snagger units. Like it, I think there's like, I don't remember if there's anything in that detachment that says an orc unit. I'm pretty sure everything is super coded. But to that point, we see that bikes and mounted units have still been okay. The Kroot list that takes some Krootox Rampagers do okay. Tau is struggling. I know that was kind of a low ball, but we've seen bikes come out for Custodes and Space Marines, right? So mounted doesn't seem to be that bad of a keyword. And go into the Squig Hog Boys profile with T7, yeah, 4 up save, 3 wounds on the boys, 4 on the knob on Smash Squig. For a 5 up feel no pain at 160 points for 4 models, so that's 40 points per model. Uh, we have seen like Talos and Kronos from Jukari at a roughly this profile. I've kind of been noticing that this. I'm sorry if you're tired of me saying this because you keep up with some of the videos, but this Walker profile has been doing all right. We're looking, and I call it the Walker profile because it's like T7, and X amount of wounds. Really, we're looking at Sidonian Dragoons, Scout Sentinels, uh, Squig Hog Boys, hopefully. Shit like that, where it's like T7 is decent enough. That absorbs some punch, and if you can give these mounted with a 5 of feel no pain, maybe you're not feeling the pain boss on that aspect to give some beast nega boys that, or the regular boys if you're not feeling that. Infantry and mounted, give them stealth, 160 points. That's comparable. Actually, even going further on that, we've seen in Star Shatter Arsenal the inclusion of Canoptic Wraiths and the Technomancer just to have something in the middle. And I think Squighog Boys are pretty comparable to that. Now, again, they have a Feel No Pain. There's a little bit. Well, you also have the Feel No Pain over here, but they also can reanimate and things to the like. But I think there's a world where we've seen Squeakog Boys do okay enough on the table, because somebody finally tried them, that maybe you start opening that conversation up to bringing Squeakog Boys in Tactical Brigade, and maybe that's the durability thing that I'm wondering where it goes. Right? Maybe you do still bring, excuse me, tank busters and shock attack guns, but maybe some Squidcog boys. Now there's also, we were doing, or I shouldn't say we, because I didn't really get around to playing Tactical Brigade. But Death Killer War Trike was a consideration, especially when there was the weird thing, the funny thing that you could lead commandos for like that 1 or 2 weeks. And War Bikers, and I don't know, I I don't remember, what was it, a Warhorde list or a different list, but somebody brought them out, and I don't know, maybe there's still something there. They're cheap enough, I guess. 80 points for Def Killer, 70 for just some War Bikers. They have OC they can go do an action. Maybe there's the conversation, but coming back to the Squidhog boys, if you don't really feel Mazrog too tough, we'll still bring both of them up. Um, there is the option that I don't know. I think they can go leaderless, but the Beast Boss and Squigasaur is a war boss, so it will give you an easier time. Uh, but giving them +1 to charge and free heroic intervention, even if somebody else did that, that's another 130 points. But it is T8, with a 3 up save, 5 up invul, excuse me, 5 up invul, 5 up feel no pain, and 8 wounds. Like, it is still kind of tough to remove for 130 points. Um, the damage output, I don't know. You have Squighog Jaws, Squigosaur's Jaw, excuse me. And given something like this sustained, I don't know. There's a world for it. It's some fours on there, but I can understand if you say, no, if I bring any Squighog boys, they're going to be alone and not necessarily with the Beast Boss and Squigosaur. I could see it. I can understand it. I don't know. I just feel like it's up for consideration. And going over to Mazrog, who in the past, contrary to what I was just saying about bringing Squighog boys with no leader, you brought Mazrog with no Squighog boys. Now, he's definitely not what he was, because he's no longer a monster, but he is TA 3 up, 4 up invuln, 8 wounds, 5 up, feel no pain. If you could make that -1 to be hit at ranged and -1 AP because of cover while standing in the open, yeah, I think that's a conversation, especially with 10-inch movement, 165. While this model is leading a unit, they could get fight on death for a fighting death. But if you bring him by itself, each time this model makes a melee attack that targets a monster vehicle, +1 to the damage characteristic of that attack. If it's Titanic, +2 to the damage. You know, it's he's not what he was, and for 165 points, yeah, you could do something else. But I guess while we're here and talking about epic heroes, we should talk about Gas too. Gas, gas, gas. Now, while attached to Mega Knobs, can't do the uh, stealth situation because it excludes Mega Knobs. But I do find it funny that if you take Gas by himself, you can give him stealth again because technically he's not a Mega Knob. Well, not even technically, he's just not a Mega Knob. So I do find it kind of funny that if you were to include Gas, 235 points, -1 to be hit with stealth, and a 2 up invuln Makari. Yeah, I think that's kind of funny. Kind of funny. Don't really need much else, but you do like taking him. But at that same point, there's the conversation to be had that once you lose the Mega Knobs, you have a fallback plan with Tactical Brigade. Again, it's steep, and outside of that, you could just not be doing this, right? Because that is an investment of points. But there is the conversation to be had of, well, what if I just make Gaz feel stupid, right? Like I feel absolutely goofy marching Gas into somebody's face after the Meganops have died, and then I still give him -1 to be hit while having a 2-up invuln because Makari is still up. So I don't know. Just saying. Surprised that some of these things didn't catch on, especially Nobz and Warboss. Really figured that one would happen, but maybe it'll take some time, maybe it won't. But Tactical Brigade, if that wants to be the shooting detachment forever and ever and ever, I guess that's what it is. Um, and if you're doing a more melee build of Tactical Brigade and having decent or non-decent results if you feel like sharing, please tell me in the comments. I am interested on where Tactical Brigade goes from here. But yeah, if you like the video, like it. Got a comment from a comment. And until next time, peace out, my monstrosities.